I swear, some days I feel like my life is just one long episode of you won't believe what happened next, but even I couldn't make this up if I tried. Picture this, I'm out at my little lake cabin, minding my own business on a Saturday afternoon, grilling up some steaks I'd marinated overnight. You know that feeling when everything's just right, the sun sparkling off the water, that pine breeze, the kind of peace you can only buy with distance from the city. That was me about to have the perfect day. My phone was off, no deadlines, just the sound of nature and the sizzle of a charcoal grill. Because of course it's charcoal. I've got standards. And then out of nowhere, I hear this stomp across the gravel like someone's marching to war. That's when I first lay eyes on Priscilla Sterling, though trust me, if anyone ever earned the title Karen, it's her. Clipboard khakis polo with some official-sounding logo chin set like she's been preparing for this exact moment her entire life. She doesn't greet me, doesn't even slow her pace, just shouts, "Excuse me," in that voice that makes you feel like you've already done something wrong. I'm just standing there, spatula in hand, grinning like an idiot, thinking, here we go. She demands, "Are you the owner of this property?" "Yeah, that's me," I say. "Try to wave it off. Keep things neighborly. No dice." "I'm Priscilla Sterling, president of the Lakeview Estates Homeowners Association," she announces like she's about to knight me. "And I need to inform you that what you're doing is in direct violation of our community standards." I'm so taken aback I just blink. "Ma'am, I'm grilling burgers." But she's reading off that clipboard like it's the Constitution, accusing me of smoke emissions, noise pollution, air quality degradation, the whole 9 yards. Over a tiny Weber grill, I try to stay polite. "Hey, I get it. You're worried about the community, but this is my place. Maybe we can work something out." She cuts me off, not interested. She's all about community safety as if my burgers are some kind of public menace. I'm trying not to laugh. Next thing I know, she whips out her phone and, I kid you not, calls 911. This lady literally dials emergency services and starts telling them, I'm creating hazardous smoke conditions at 247 Lakeside Drive, that I'm uncooperative and dangerous. Dangerous me in flip-flops cooking lunch. By the time she hangs up, she's looking at me like she's just saved civilization. The police are on their way. Maybe they can explain what being a good neighbor means. All I can do is stare at my now overcooked steaks, wondering if this is what a nervous breakdown smells like. Not 2 minutes later, I hear sirens. Real honest-to-God police sirens, because apparently in 2024, grilling on your own deck is a federal case if Karen says so. I try to stay calm. "Ma'am, what are you actually going to tell them when they get here?" She puffs up, says she'll report me for illegal barbecue operations and smoke terrorism. She says that's smoke terrorism. I almost dropped my spatula. So Officer Marcus Thompson pulls in, big guy, mid-40s, that look on his face like he's hoping this isn't as dumb as it sounds. He steps out, sees my grill, then looks at both of us. Karen jumps in, waving her clipboard. This man is violating fire safety, unauthorized emissions, disregarding community standards. He looks at her, then at me, and says, "Is that a Weber?" "Yes, sir." "Making burgers." He nods, and you can almost see the gears turning. Then he asks Karen if she's got documentation. She's shuffling through her clipboard but doesn't have anything official. "I'm the president. I know every property," she insists. Officer Marcus asks, "Are you absolutely sure this is your HOA's jurisdiction and you can feel the air shift like a storm brewing?" Karen blusters, "Of course I've been maintaining standards for 3 years." He looks at her, then pulls up county records on his phone and starts reading. 30 seconds of silence later, he says, "Ma'am, this lakefront area was never incorporated into any homeowners association jurisdiction." Dead silence. You could hear a squirrel sneeze. Karen goes pale. That's impossible. But Marcus explains when an HOA is created, it's all on file deeds, boundaries, the whole legal process. Your association doesn't cover this property. She starts sputtering, but he doubles down. She has no legal authority over my land, could no more ban my barbecue than appoint herself Queen of England. I can't help but laugh, and even Marcus is trying not to smile. He tells her plain and simple, "You can call yourself president of whatever you want, but that doesn't make it law. If you keep harassing neighbors, you could face charges for impersonating a public official." And Karen? She just stands there, shell-shocked, clutching her clipboard like a life vest. She whispers, "This isn't over," before storming off toward her house. I actually felt a little bad for her for about 3 seconds. Then I remembered she called the cops on my burgers. But if you thought that was the end, oh, buddy, not even close. Next week, the phone starts ringing. I get calls from Margaret, the Community Standards Committee, Bob from Neighborhood Watch, Patricia, Property Values Protection Group, all different voices, all reading from the same script. We've received complaints about your grilling. Translation: Karen's put out an APB to every busybody in the Tri-County area. But here's where she miscalculated. I might be easygoing, but I've got limits. Being bossed around by someone with zero real power, that'll light a fire under anyone. So I start keeping records, calls, letters, every so-called violation. Then I call them back. Margaret, can I see the bylaws for your committee, the incorporation papers? Nothing. Bob, what's your legal authority? Silence. Patricia got proof my burgers hurt property values. Nada. Turns out all these committees and groups are just Karen's social club. No one actually has authority. She's convinced a handful of neighbors to follow her made-up rules just because she acts like she's in charge. That's when I realized this isn't about grilling. It's about someone building an entire fake kingdom on nothing but confidence and paper clipboards. So I go on offense. I post in the local Facebook group, "Hey, did anyone actually vote to give Priscilla authority over our properties? Because I'm getting calls about HOA rules and I can't find a single record." Within hours, the floodgates open. Neighbors start reaching out, all with their own Karen horror stories. Tom couldn't build a shed. Jennifer took down her bird feeders. Dave repainted his mailbox because Karen told him to, all based on rules that never existed. By the weekend, I've got a crew of ticked-off neighbors, each one realizing they've been playing by imaginary rules. So we host an impromptu neighborhood meeting right during my grilling time, of course. Tom brings his blueprints. Jennifer's got her bird feeders, Dave's clutching a paint can. As we gather, Karen arrives flanked by her counsel, Margaret, Bob, Patricia, all with clipboards ready to serve me a cease and desist, full of legal-sounding nonsense. I just look at them and ask, "So where are those incorporation papers?" "We're in the process," Margaret stammers. "Bob, who do you report suspicious activity to, the police and the HOA?" "Patricia, do you have evidence grilling hurts property values?" "Well, not exactly." Then Tom steps forward loud enough for half the neighborhood to hear Karen. "There is no standards committee. There's just you. You told me I needed approval, but I checked. Nobody's ever voted. Nobody's ever signed anything." Jennifer adds, "I'm putting my bird feeders back up. Dave's mailbox is going blue tomorrow." Suddenly, people from all over start stepping out. Garden gnomes are coming back, motorcycles out of garages, swing sets going up. Karen's standing there watching her little empire crumble. You can see it on her face, the panic, the disbelief, the refusal to accept that the gig is up. She starts sputtering. "You can't just ignore community standards." And Dave, bless him, just says, "Karen, you're not the community. You're just a neighbor, and not a very good one. That's it." Everyone heads off to reclaim their yards, repaint their mailboxes, rehang their wind chimes. Karen's clipboard brigade melts away. The revolution is over, no fireworks, just the simple truth. You want a satisfying ending. A week later, we're having a full-on backyard barbecue. Tom's finally building his shed. Jennifer's bird feeders are back. Dave's mailbox is the brightest blue on the block. Kids are on the swing sets. Garden gnomes everywhere. Motorcycles in the driveway, laughter and burgers and the smell of freedom in the air. Karen. She's watching from her window, left out of the party for the first time in years. Margaret stops returning calls. Bob takes up fishing. Patricia focuses on selling houses instead of running fake committees. The neighborhood's happier than it's ever been, because when people are left alone to enjoy their own property, turns out they actually get along just fine. Me, I still grill every Saturday. Rain or shine, sometimes alone, sometimes with a crowd, but always on my terms. The biggest lesson I learned, if someone tries to boss you around, ask to see the paperwork. No proof, no power. You'd be surprised how many fake rulers are out there just hoping you won't ask questions. So, what do you think? Was I out of line, standing up to a fake HOA, or did I do the neighborhood a favor? Hit the comments. Tell me your wildest HOA story, or just weigh in as community spirit about rules or about respect. And hey, if you've ever had a Karen in your life, you know exactly what I mean. I'm telling you, life's too short to let someone else decide how you enjoy your own backyard. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some burgers to flip. And maybe, just maybe, an update next week because I hear Karen's got one last trick up her sleeve. Stay tuned.